The night air is filled with a warm but damp mist, fireflies floating about, and a cozy feeling of comfort and security. A local native from Terraday Estate is out on the boardwalk, gazing down at the waters. Her reflection smiles back at her, and the flower stuck in her hair matches the natural radiance of the wild flora surrounding the waters. As the young woman enjoys the silence and solitude, another reflection appears behind her. A large reptilian figure towers over the poor girl, his yellow eyes piercing from the shadow-covered silhouette.
Well, well. Evening, Cher.
Who are you? What do you want from me?
Oh, no need to be scared. I just don't think a pretty young thing like you should be out by herself at this hour, said you.
Get off of me!
She kicks him in the stomach, hurting her foot on impact. The gator lets out a throaty chuckle, wearing a sick grin that exposes his sharp teeth.
I like a girl with a little spice to her.
Arrêtez!
Just then, a gentleman approaches the gator and his captive. He's brandishing a cane in his hand and wearing an expensive-looking jacket. His head, an active ball of flame, stares the beast down.
I believe the lady doesn't want you near her.
Techniques, please help me!
Like I'm afraid of some little matchstick.
Bien, monsieur. You do know what happens when you play with matches, right? You get burnt.
A scalding heat begins emitting from his hand, singeing the gator's wrist. The reptile lets go of the woman to cradle his burnt hand. She takes this opportunity to take the gentleman's wrist and pulls him away, running away from the beast.
Hey! Get back here, you little maggots!
I don't think so, lézard muet.
As they continue running, the gentleman holds out his hand and unleashes a spray of fire onto the gator's face. He stops in his tracks, blinded and stumbling to try and tend to his wounds. Soon enough, the gentleman and the woman arrive at a clearing, far away from the gator that was chasing them. The woman stops, panting heavily at how much effort it took to run. Then she looks up to the gentleman.
Merci. Thank you for coming to my aid.
I couldn't let you fall prey to that mongrel. Although, I do wonder why a lovely lady such as yourself is out here alone.
I was out on my evening stroll and took a moment to gaze down at the pond. My mama would always take me there when I was a little girl and, well, I just had to relive that moment of nostalgia. Only then did I notice that creature was stalking me. I should have been more aware of my surroundings.
No. Tout va bien, ma chère. Everyone makes mistakes. No need to beat yourself up further.
Thank you, monsieur. I never caught your name.
Intrigant. Claude Intrigant.
Sylvie. Such a pleasure. And what brings you out here?
I'm just taking in the sights in between business ventures. I saw the boardwalk and thought it would hold a breathtaking view. And it seems I wasn't wrong.
No, stop. Do you charm your parents with that mouth? If you have one.
I was merely being honest. In fact, if you don't mind my being so bold to ask, perhaps I can escort you back to your home? Maybe get to know you more?
Why, Monsieur Intrigant, I would be honored. Shall I lead the way?
By all means, Madame Sylvie. Lead the way.
After a while, they make it back to Sylvie's house, which was a cottage by the bayou. It was small and wooden, just the way she and her family liked it. Sylvie unlinks her arm from Claude as she approaches the doorstep.
Thank you again, monsieur. I'm forever in your debt.
Tout le plaisir est pour moi. I only wish we didn't have to end the evening so soon. I was really enjoying your company.
As she opens the door, she lets his last few words circulate through her mind. She couldn't help but feel pity for him. After all, he did save her life. She decided that she needed to do more to properly repay him.
Well, actually, my mama is away to care for my grandmother, and my papa is on a business trip. Perhaps I could invite you inside for a little while, if you want.
Are you sure? I wouldn't want to impose.
No, really, it's fine. I mean, I'll be honest. The way you came and saved me and how kind you were during our walk, I found it to be attractive.
Well, who am I to deny a lady's request? I'd love to.
She opens the door, and the two enter the small cottage together. After she closes the door, she takes her shoes off before entering the living room.
My mama doesn't want shoes on in the house. I hope that isn't a rude request.
Not at all, ma chère.
He then proceeds to take his off too, as per her request.
You have such a charming abode.
Thank you. So, Claude, where are you from exactly?
My parents and I grew up in Verno Valley. We were only barely able to afford food and clothing. So, I set out to try and make a better living for my family.
As he continues to open up to her, he holds out his hand and uses the flames of his body to properly illustrate to her.
I traveled all across Annualia, trying to earn an honest dollar. It's slow and tedious, I will not lie. But it will all be worth it when I can afford the lifestyle that my family deserves.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I wish there was something I could do to help.
It can't be helped, sadly. It's a miracle I can make it through as far as I have. The world, she is quite the merciless pit sometimes.
Don't I know it? My family wasn't so fortunate the first time around. They were poor, but they sacrificed so much to give me a good life and education. I'm currently working part-time as a seamstress to help give back to them.
Huh. It seems we have quite a bit in common, Sylvie.
He inches closer to her on the couch. She could feel the heat of his flames as they got closer to each other. She wanted to be even closer, but her anxiety got the best of her and pulled her away from him.
Wait, you're made of fire. Won't I get burnt if I touch you?
Oh, don't worry, I can control my fire. I've learned for years.
To prove his point, he offers his hand out to her.
I won't hurt you. I promise. I wouldn't dream of hurting someone like you.
She hesitates for a second. Then, slowly, she puts her hand on his. He then holds her hand up to his cheek so she could feel for herself. It wasn't hot like she was anticipating. Rather, it was warm, almost like she was holding a cup of hot chocolate.
Oh.
See? I'd never hurt you. Ma beauté fluviale.
Her cheeks were flushed red with desire. Part of her knew it was too sudden, but she couldn't help herself. She leaned forward and presses her lips against the center of his face, assuming that's where his lips would be. Claude returns the gesture and kisses her back, a hand moving to caress her cheek. While he had no visible mouth or lips, he's still capable of emitting a pleasing sensation from his aura to her mouth that felt as warm as a kiss. She leans closer to wrap her arms around his collar, unaware that she landed on top of him and pushed him to the edge of the couch. Embarrassed, she pulls herself off of him.
Oops, sorry.
No, don't apologize. I should have known better.
No, it's fine, really. I just lost my balance. How about we go to my room instead? There's more space on the bed than there is this old couch.
Really? I mean, as much as I'd love to, don't you think this is all too sudden?
I mean, it is, but I want to repay you in some way for saving me. And I can't tell a lie. I want you. I really, really do. Please, Claude, let me have you for one night. That is all I ask.
Sylvie, I would love to.
He leans forward and gives her another loving kiss on her lips before letting her lead him to the bedroom. The two then continued their night of unrelenting passion, igniting a feeling in Sylvie that she hadn't experienced in what felt like ages. She wanted to savor Claude for as long as she could, and from the looks of things, he felt the exact same about her. Unbeknownst to them, a shadowy figure approached the cottage, quietly sulking, waiting for their moment to strike. Later that night, Sylvie was deep asleep, the flower in her hair now missing. But so was Claude himself. The gentleman quietly makes his way to the living room, where he's greeted by the figure that was spying on them earlier. The figure is revealed to be the alligator from earlier that evening. In his hand are 2 cloth bags, and he tosses one of them to Claude.
You took your sweet time getting down here? Got distracted, getting your flames fanned?
It's called making it believable. Earning someone's love, or I suppose lust in this case, takes time. But I'm sure you wouldn't know about such pleasantries, avocat mush.
At least I actually got lips to kiss.
Just stay focused and keep quiet. I don't want her to lose any sleep over this.
The two then begin to fill the bags with various trinkets and valuables found throughout the room. As the alligator continues to fill his bag, Claude takes a moment to pull out a flower from his jacket pocket, the same flower that was nestled in Sylvie's hair. After looking at it for a bit, he places it back in his pocket and resumes his robbery. The next morning, rays of morning sunlight peek into Sylvie's room, waking her from her slumber. She stretches her arms, then rubs the sleep out of her eyes, still unaware of Claude's absence.
Good morning, you handsome. Huh? Claude?
A few moments later, Sylvie walks into the living room wearing a dark green bathrobe. She then lets out a horrified gasp upon seeing her house robbed. That shock then turns into bitter anger.
Oh, feast beauty!
Elsewhere, in a nearby shack, the alligator is rummaging through the stolen loot on the table in front of him.
For a homely little lass, she sure has good taste. Hey, how about this time I pick the mark and I be the one romancing the pretty girl? Boss?
He gets up from the table and walks over to the other room. To his surprise and confusion, no one was there.
Hey, where'd you go?
The silence is then broken by the sound of the front door being kicked down by 2 officers.
The hell?
Freeze! Hands up and walk forward slowly.
What's the meaning of this?
One of the officers, a jellyfish-looking being, uses his tentacles to restrain the gator.
The more you resist, the worse this will be, sir.
The other officer, an anthropomorphic bullfrog, walks over to the table and examines the stolen loot. He pulls out a notebook and looks back and forth, making sure everything is accounted for.
Is that everything?
Looks like it. That anonymous tip was really on the money.
Tip? What are you? That backstabbing matchstick?
In an attempt to pacify him, the jellyfish officer then sends a bolt of electricity down his tentacles, shocking the alligator.
We might need some backup to get this big guy back to the station.
Moments later, more officers arrive to escort the alligator into a prison wagon. He's wearing a muzzle over his mouth, while his hands and tail are handcuffed together. Sylvie then arrives at the crime scene, hoping to reclaim what was stolen from her.
Is everything there? I don't want my folks to freak out over their things being stolen.
Yep, we took count of everything you told us, and it all seems to be here and accounted for.
Oh, thank goodness. But I'm pretty sure that the thief was a gentleman with a fireball head.
We searched the entire shack, and Gruesome over there was the only person we could find.
But
Don't worry, ma'am. He mentioned having a partner. We'll be keeping an eye out for him as well.
Sir, the stolen goods disappeared.
what?
How? Weren't you watching them?
I was. I just had to take a minute to use the bathroom.
Oh, rookies.
Miles away, Claude is casually walking down a dirt path with a large cloth sack over his shoulder. He stops to look up at a sign that says, "Welcome to Vernal Valley," letting out an amused chuckle.
Un nouveau jour, un nouveau plan.
He takes a moment to pull out the flower he took from Sylvie, looking at it one last time.
I almost feel bad for what I did to that poor girl. The world. She is quite the merciless bit sometimes.
His touch then begins to ignite the flower, and he callously tosses it aside as he continues his path to Vernal Valley, ready to continue his lifestyle of theft, lies, and broken hearts.